Welcome into me and Mike's podcast. Right now, we don't have a name, and that's what we want your guys' help for. We do see chat. Kabam, we saw your shout is pretty good. So the main focus of our podcast, me and Mike have been playing for, Mike's been playing for like 9 years, and I've been playing for 10 seasons of SPL. And we really want to talk about like our past experiences of playing and just competing and just everything. And we're not going to really focus mainly on SPL itself. But we will talk about it a little bit, especially if things come up. We're not going to completely ignore it, but it's not going to be the main focus of the show.
Right. Yeah. We're like today, for example, our main topic will be that we'll talk about sort of our expectations of moving to a LAN league, moving to Georgia, and kind of how that's impacted our profession, how it's impacted the league as a whole. We'll touch a little bit at the start here about the off season and, worlds and all that sort of thing. But for the most part, we're just going to talk through, just some things, some stories that we otherwise wouldn't really get to share with people and just kind of have a platform for that. We already have a ton of ideas and, guests and all that type of stuff. So we're really excited to just try to get into this, get better at it. And yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, when me and Mike get together and talk, the conversations are always pretty interesting and they're a lot of fun. It'll be a lot of fun to share with like everybody else. So we want to just get a more behind the scenes look into things like from all the past seasons and even like currently now.
Yeah, and I guess on the name front as well, we were thinking maybe something that had some sort of like mythology reference or something like that. But yeah, if you guys think of those as we go, then that would definitely be helpful because we are not good at names.
Yeah, like Mike's example was the Alpharetta Ogres. But Sino was laughing because I was like, we should call ourselves the Big Boys on Broadway. And Sino started dying when I said that. But yeah, we don't have a name yet. We're still trying to figure that out. So we definitely would like the help.
Yeah, so I guess you just want to get into like kind of the most recent stuff and then go from there?
Okay, let's do it.
So we were thinking about it'd be kind of cool to share our thoughts, of course, because it is about to be the first week of SPL, just how we've been feeling about the new season. Have we been enjoying it, like in the changes and just the newest season, the Season of Hope from patch 10.3? Of course, Aror and I are pretty close to the chest with like competitive information, so it's less of that and just more the game in general. So I don't know if you have any initial thoughts or how you feel about things.
Yeah, this year I feel like they're like doing a lot with just adding a ton of stuff to the game. It feels like they're really not removing things or like trying to, like a good example of this is like the most recent patch with the pen changes. I think instead of nerfing like a bunch of different pen items that are really cool, like Doom Orb and items like that, they just reduce the pen like overall. So like the items itself are still going to be the same, but it just like kind of evens out the playing field, and they're really just adding more stuff than like removing cool items. And because what happens in Smite realistically is when an item gets nerfed, it doesn't really get bought anymore unless it's like a very like particular scenario on a certain character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I really like they kind of started it with 9.5 last year, and I was skeptical at first because they're just such massive changes that change just like the core of how you play the game, like how the game feels. And because we've been playing for so long, it can take a while to, like, it's hard to even predict that. Like, if we saw a normal patch and we're like, oh, Thebes got buffed and like all of our items got buffed, we're like, oh, support got buffed, we'll probably feel stronger. But when you see stuff like all of these healing shifts and like brawling is gone, but then you have all of these other god buffs, I think it's really interesting to see that like it doesn't impact just one class or another class. I feel like it's such a huge like game shift that we probably still aren't even like close to how impactful it is.
Yeah, I feel like just like looking at it, like I feel like I want to see the rest of the year play out before I have like because I don't really know what to expect what they're doing, because they said there's going to be 2 more big content patches, I think, that are similar to Season of Hope, and then the original patch that they released at the beginning of Season 10. So I'm like, I'm really curious to see what they do with the rest of the year, because they've done a lot, and I really like you said with the brawling thing, I like that they got rid of that, because I wasn't a fan of the not brawling. So I think it was really good that they went back and they did all these changes to all these characters. But like some of the characters are really, really good that they did it to, and then some of them are like Sylvanas is worse now, which kind of sucks. But like Sylvanas Solo is like my favorite character to play on the last season, season 9, and then with the season hope changes, he's gone.
Yeah, I'm just excited. Like, it also just shakes things up so much, like having so many new mechanics, and then also having all of the teams shift a good bit. Like, really only the Kings stuck together. I think that's like the only team. So there's just, I feel like this year in the SPL will be so exciting because we'll all just have so many different ideas, different play styles. Like, to me, the game feels so fresh. Like, I can't remember the last time it felt like that new to me, and it's really rare for me to feel that way because, I mean, we just play so much, like a decade of our lives or whatever. Like, so yeah, I've been really excited. I've been enjoying it a lot.
Yeah, the thing is, I know our team kind of stuck together a little bit, but like Mike said, like majority of the teams have made a lot of shifts, and I feel like there's a lot of characters being played in like competitive scrims right now. So I think it'll be really interesting to see how the first split of SPL shakes up.
Yeah, agreed. Do you want to go through? We also want to talk a little bit about, again, we're not going to cover all of these topics extensively. We mainly want to talk about just our expectations of moving to Georgia and just more big picture stuff more than the recent stuff. But we do want to touch on some things, of course, with SPL starting soon. So we figured it'd be good to talk about the off season for both of us. I know that we both had a couple questions for each other that we wanted to share. I guess I can start. My first question for you would just be, you know, kind of how the team environment and stuff has changed. Of course, you guys made finals and you had kicked Cyclone before that. I know there was a lot of like roster issues at the end of the year, and a lot of like turnover can be really hard to deal with that late. And to make a really nice run at the finals and then have, you know, Sino, who you won Worlds with, and then bring back Cyclone, I was just kind of wondering, you know, what feels different about this year, or does it really just feel the same, then you're just running it back?
Yeah, I mean, this year is a lot different. I know that me and Paul are still sticking together, which is like what we've played the last 3 years, and I played with Cyclone the last 3 years as well, even though I didn't play with him at the end of the year. But bringing in Sino, like, we just have a really good understanding of the game with each other, and I really like talking SMITE with him. And the biggest thing is that I feel like the environment's gonna work out for our team, because it was hard with Cyclone and Layers and Sot. Like, they didn't all get along that well. Like, Cyclone's more of like liking to take the game serious when he plays, and Sot likes to have fun. I'm kind of like in both camps. That's where I'm at. But Sot's like on the more fun end. So like there was just a little bit of a personality clash like there. But and then same with Layers as well. Just the same thing. They both want to have more easygoing, more fun. Cyclone's more serious and wanting to just improve that way. Yeah, I think both ways can work, but it's just like, that's the thing about playing, is when you're on a team, everybody kind of has to be on the same page, even outside of the game as well. Like, if everybody's not getting along, it's really, really hard to get better. So
yeah, and I think it's interesting too, because having that kind of balance of like, when I had played with Cyclone like years and years ago, and even then, like, he's always been very serious with practice and like wanting to take it, just like try to like learn something out of it, which is of course what you should try to do. If you have everybody like that, then it's really easy to like get down on yourselves if you're losing. Like, sometimes you don't have somebody to like give the team energy. But then if you have like too many of those people who are having fun and like goofing around, I've definitely been on teams like that. When we had like when we had like Baskin and Benji and Scream and Panda, like that we had no productive scrims against you guys. Like, we are just absolutely trolling and running it down.
Did roll us though every game back then.
we just ran it down, man. But yeah, I think it's interesting, and it's one of those things where, you know, you hear people's outside opinions on your roster changes, and people are like, oh, why would they kick Cyclone and get him right back? You know, that type of thing. But it's just not that simple, right? Like, how a player works with different people can change an entire team, right? Like, we've seen so many examples. I mean, the Kings changed one player last year, right? And they haven't lost a set really since, like, to the end of the year when they won Worlds, right? Yep. So just one thing can change so much, and I think it'll be really interesting from the outside looking in. I feel like the initial adjustment with you guys, like you and Cyclone having Paul, kind of took like some learning time for all of you to get used to. And then I feel like having that back, and then also having a jungler you're really familiar with. I mean, I feel like we kind of have two different revolving doors. Like, for me, it's mid lane, and for you, it's jungle. Over the past few years, like, we're always like swapping that. Yeah. So yeah, I think it feels nice that we both probably feel like we have people we're comfortable with, and that's really exciting, I think.
Yeah. The other big thing, I guess, was like touching on that is, I really wanted to make sure that if I played with Cyclone again, is that we got someone in solo lane that would get along with him, and him and Baskin get along really well. So that was just like an easy thing. But the thing is, that was like, I didn't think Baskin was gonna play actually this year.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Because I talked to him when he was here, when he was on the Bolts. And it didn't seem like he was gonna play this year because he just got done with school. But when he said he was gonna play, I was really excited to play with him. But that was like the only question mark, was who we were gonna put in the solo lane. Like after we're gonna play with Cyclone again. So.
Has it been because he's with you guys in the house, right? Has it been enjoyable? Everyone being together, getting along, all that?
Yeah, it's been a lot
awesome.
of fun. Yeah, we did some disc golfing. I've gone on a lot of walks with him, and even with Paul and Sino, we've gone on a couple walks, just
Nice.
like at like different forest preserves or like walking trails.
Cool.
So
Yeah,
it's been good. Yeah,
that's awesome. I think something else that just popped into my mind as well, with kind of mentioning the run you guys had to the finals, is you had an interview on stage that really, like, you had answered a question. I think it was from Kelly, and I was like, wow, I never would have answered that question that way, but I thought it was such a cool answer. Was you literally just said, like, thanks for loving Smite as much as I do, and like coming and like supporting it. And I was just kind of curious, like, it had been what, 3-4 years since we had an in-person world, since COVID and all that type of stuff. And I was just kind of curious, like, did that crowd, because we've both played a lot of worlds, and you've been to the finals multiple times, semis, all of that, did that crowd, or did that feeling, did it feel like more of the same to you, or did it feel more significant? Like, did it feel like that worlds and that in-person event meant more to the community?
it definitely felt like more to the community. I don't know, just playing there. It could just be like you said, just not playing an event for a really long time, but it definitely felt really good to just be back and doing something like that again.
Yeah,
I'm really happy that Hi-Rez was able to figure out how to get the event together and have a live event, because I think everybody from every party, Hi-Rez, the players, the fans, everybody loved it. The casters as well.
Yeah.
So
I thought, as a player, I think that's probably the best venue I've played at. Like, in terms of like the practice rooms and everything. Like,
yeah,
it was so
sick.
good. Yeah, so good.
Yeah, because at DreamHack, for like season 5 and season 6, we didn't really have practice rooms, but it was in Georgia, and for season 6, we were living here. So I remember I went back to the apartments we were at to practice before the game day, and then season 5. We went to Battle and Brew. I think we were the only team that year that actually practiced like prior to.
Yeah, that's crazy.
To the event.
We didn't. Yeah.
Yeah, we went 2 days. So, okay, this is off topic a little bit.
Yeah, go for it.
But so we were scrimming Mike's team when he was on United, and they were slamming us. But I will say, the reason why they were destroying us in scrims, they were really good, obviously, and they probably would have won like majority of the game still. But we were playing on like 120 ping and
I forgot
30,
about that.
30 FPS at the Splice's headquarters. So as soon as we got to Georgia, I'm like, we have to go play somewhere.
Yeah.
If I do not play Smite on 60 frames before Worlds, I will literally int every game. I said. So we went to Battle and Brew and we played. But yeah, I think it helped out a lot.
Yeah, that's huge. I think it also helps shake out the nerves a little bit, because I think, like, no matter how experienced you are with the crowd, it's not really nerves as in like nervous getting in game, but you get like the butterflies of, like, it just is different. Like, when we come here and we play a set for the 100th time, it's still fun and it's different than scrims, but it's not you walk out and you see like all of these people who have like jerseys on or just super excited,
and it's loud too, like at some points. Like I know in our set, okay, did you, when people were chanting for like blue buffs and speed buffs,
dude,
I never talked to you about this.
Oh
actually,
my God.
I remember Paul's like, they're on gold and you guys were not on gold at all. We all ran to gold because people are cheering for speed buff. Did you guys realize what was going on in the game, or no?
It took us until after like the first or second game of them doing it where we're like, oh, we get it. Because I think in the first couple of games, you guys had Ama on SOT. So we were like, are they just like burning FG at 10 minutes? Like, am I getting Sino ranked called on right now? Like, what's going on? And then we check objectives or just ward them, and we're like, wait, what are people cheering for, man?
Yeah, no, I remember we got off the stage, and I'm like, what was everybody going crazy about? Because Slaney was our coach at the time, and he was like, they're just cheering for every buff kill about either team. So that was like super troll. But I was always curious if you guys didn't even know that it was happening?
Well,
during
we knew they were cheering, but we thought the same thing you guys did. We were freaking out that it was an objective, and maybe it's possible that somebody said it between games, but I didn't hear it. It was in the middle of game 2. I was like, "Oh, are they on an objective?" And they're like, "Oh, no, they're just doing it for buffs." And I had like missed it. Maybe I zoned out or something. I don't know. But
we had no clue for the
so
entire game. We were like, "What is even happening?" We just thought we thought that maybe someone was like trying to rile up everybody or something. But it was pretty funny.
Yeah, our games weren't even like that much of a farm fest. I feel like there was like one, maybe game 3 or 4 was.
There was like 2 games I think that were kind of slowish, but
yeah.
A lot. There was the one game you guys won in like 17 minutes or something as well.
Yeah, we just literally did objectives in there away.
You guys actually did what the crowd was cheering for.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know. I think it was such a cool world, and of course you were on the better end of it, but it is really crazy. We were talking about this the other day as well. It's like we've been playing for so long, and I feel like especially the way our 2 careers have intertwined, especially before we moved to, a combined LAN league, we were pretty much bouncing back and forth like at the top of the NA standings for a few years. Like season 4, my team won Worlds, and your team won Worlds in season 5, and season 3 the year before, you guys had made semis. You were second place. We were second in NA in season 2. Like it just kept going back and forth, but we really never played meaningful sets.
We played in the playoffs.
We played playoffs, but it wasn't like
playoff finals.
Not Worlds when I say that. Yeah,
we never
like
played
in front of
World.
a crowd. I guess.
Yeah.
In front of a crowd.
In front of a crowd. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was such a cool feeling. Like I don't know if I would say it's like I don't know. You know how sometimes people will be like, "Oh, who's your like arch nemesis or something?" Like I don't know if I ever think of it that way, but I do think it's always exciting to play against people that we've played against for a long time, like you and Zap and Bera. And it is really cool to have that sort of like just like the storyline narrative person in me, because I enjoy like traditional sports and just seeing people play against each other and like how they stack up and all that. And I think that's a really cool like narrative element of it to me, is like being able to have that opportunity to like share a stage and be on the other side of it. And I feel like we have a lot of overlap in terms of like if you like supports who absolutely run it down and int and invade, you probably like both of us. And otherwise you hate us both. I can give
a little good int every once in a while.
Yeah, exactly. But so yeah,
touching on that as well, like people always are saying in the SPL, which I don't agree with completely. I guess you could see it a little bit, is like everybody's like, it's always the same players every year. I always see these comments about that. And I feel like it's not. Like me and you've been around. Yeah. I've seen a lot of players in the SPL that I played against like 9 years ago. Not a lot of them are left.
Yeah, no, I
can
totally
count them
agree.
on one hand. So like, there's definitely like a big turnover. It's just more. It's like a trickle-in effect more than like a floodgate.
Yeah, I think people get stuck on like this idea that they want to see teams overcome other teams and like replace 5 players at once. And I think that's just really hard to do realistically, because there's such a big difference. Like, of course, you can see people playing ranked, and we'll both play a lot of ranked or whatever. Like, there's talented players in the game who are good at pressing their buttons, but the actual knowledge difference, like all of the small decision makings, are just the habits that you build in that, like, we're not even thinking about it anymore, but we're like, oh, we're making this play because I need to make sure, like, whatever else is happening. Like, there's just so many small details that you're just so used to doing at a comp level, like, you might give up a wave in competitive play because you want to make sure they don't do gold, and you like know it's your job to check that as the tank. Whereas like in ranked, you might just like play for your own farm. Like, I don't know, like there's so many different things that as a team you really have to play against top level talent to overcome it. And I think you see it in the bottom end of the SPL. Like even the Valks last year, they were like 7th or 8th every single split, but in my opinion, they kept getting better even within that.
And they had some really good sets as well.
They did, yeah, and they were increasingly more competitive. And just because they don't convert it to a win, like it doesn't mean that those players aren't getting better. And I think, like when you mentioned the trickle-in effect, there's players like Pegon, for example. Yeah. Like I've had the opinion for years that he was good enough to be in the SPL. He was just too young. And it's really hard for like his
Coast as well, too.
Yeah, exactly. Like for his team to relegate an entire other team, it's really hard to do that and to leapfrog experience.
Yeah, so like the only team, like you have to give a lot of credit to that Sanguine team, like the original Sanguine team. Like they're the only team in recent memory that has come into the SPL and actually been a very strong team. Yeah. 5 players out of like SCC with no other veteran presence coming in. Like they never won any events until they got zapped. but they did extremely well in the
They were
in
first
the
their
regular
first
phase.
split. Like
Yeah.
their first split, they were first place.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
They were all really good players, and like the thing is about competitive Smite is that there's not as much structure as like traditional sports, and
Right.
like maybe other like esports that have like LOL, like League of Legends or whatever, that have like a bunch of coaches and stuff. So like for them to come in and do that was just really impressive in itself. Like to come in as 5 players that haven't competed in SPL before. I know Shinto and Rangi have been around forever because they played
Right.
season 3 Worlds. They beat you.
Listen, man.
But
I'll say
but
what it is. It's a
super
weekend
impressive.
stinker on Thor. I'm just gonna call it out.
But yeah, like that team coming in, we haven't seen. Is there any other team that we've seen come in with like no other players that have been previous SPL besides them in recent memory?
No,
Like,
not
season
recent.
5 plus.
I feel like before them. Well, I guess like if you're not including, like you could say the old like Valks through relegations, but like WoWie had played in the SPL before, that type of thing. So it was kind of a mix. Before that, wasn't it like season 3 Rival or something?
Yeah,
that, like,
yeah,
went
exactly.
on
Death
se-
Walker's
It was like
team, right?
4 years
Yeah.
before. Like it's crazy rare to be able to
yeah.
do
So
that.
if you have a team like that good, like it's something really special. I feel like, and like it doesn't happen very often. So yeah,
You see, Ronnie said NA fraud, LATAM greater. That's good.
yeah.
Yeah, honestly, when you mentioned the Sanguine guys, I feel like that's kind of perfect for what we were talking about with. I think one of the most impressive things about that team as well was that it was also their first time. Like they all had to move to an entirely different country, and they did it the COVID year as well. Like
Yeah, that's crazy. During the COVID
Yeah.
year was something else. And
like
on
such
top of that,
difficult circumstances for them, and they were all just so good right away, and they were just grinding instantly, and like they were always good ranked players and stuff, or like good in the SEC. But I was so impressed just by that. Like I feel like I don't know how you felt like when we first heard that it was going to be a LAN league and we were going to move here and it was all going to be combined. I feel like we had a lot of time to kind of like prep for that mentally and be like, okay, well, what's this going to look like?
Yeah.
What's my living situation going to be? And for them, they were one of the last teams to be signed, and they just went.
People thought they were bad as well,
Yeah.
which was crazy.
Yeah.
People were saying they didn't deserve the SPL spot. People were
Insane.
insane for saying that. But
Yeah.
no, I remember we played them. Like speaking of moving down, I think right before we moved down, APAM had a tournament. Shout outs to APAM.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
And we played with Quig. Quig played mid. Shout outs to Quig as well. And it was me, or wait, no, Quig played solos. No, we had Sot. We played with Quig and Sot, and it was me, Cyclone, Sino, Quig, and Sot, and we played them in the finals, and they beat us. I remember, and I feel like that's when I was like, these guys are really good.
Yeah.
So, and it was crazy to me that people were saying that they were bad like after that, because I think they played SEC that year, right? The season 6, the first year SPL where we moved down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, I was surprised, but like you said, like we had so much more time to kind of evaluate everything before we had to come down and make all these decisions.
Yeah. Do you feel like, because we were kind of talking about, you had mentioned earlier how Cyclone was in scrims, he tends to want to be a little bit more serious and all that. Do you feel like moving here has changed kind of, I guess the best word for it would be maybe like professionalism of the league? Like, because I remember, when I was on United in season 4, right? I was 20 or 21 years old, and then I think Benji was 17 or 18, and then everyone else was 16 and 15.
Yeah.
Like I was literally playing with like 4 people. One person, Benji, was in college. He was a freshman in college, and the other 3 were literally in high school. So our current schedule, like we scrimmed this morning and then come here, right?
Yeah.
And that's like, we have a normal work day. We used to start scrimming at like 7 p.m.
6
yeah,
p.m.
6 or 7
yeah,
p.m.
6, 7, yeah.
Yeah, like we're literally
8 p.m.
dealing with like literal high school kids. They were waking up at like 7 a.m., going to a full day of school, coming home, doing homework, and like grinding Smite. And I feel like it's such an interesting balance, because when we got ready to move, I feel like that initial shift was so big to feel like everybody's time was able to be more dedicated. I feel like there was so much progress in the league that year, like strategy-wise, season 6.
Yeah, I mean, I think scrim started 1 p.m. that year, right? I remember everybody was scrimming. I think when we first moved down, everybody was scrimming at like 3, and then everybody's like, why are we scrimming so late? Like, why don't we scrim earlier? Because we're not doing anything else anyways. So I think we moved scrims to 1. And then like last year, I think the Kings were the ones who started the 11 a.m. scrims, right? And then that became pretty popular. And now that's like 11 a.m. is really common now as well. So
yeah, I mean, I kind of love it because that's when we could like, if we're gonna play our first SPL set on the weekend at 11, like why wouldn't you just be used to waking up at that time, and being ready to go? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you want to play SMITE when you're playing SMITE, like you want to practice when you're playing your actual game. So I think it makes a lot of sense as well.
I think that year, at least for me, I kind of like double blocking was like a world specific thing. I feel like because we would, if Worlds was normally in early January when it was in Cobb and stuff, we would have like, we'd have everybody on winter break from school.
Yeah.
So we could literally like, I remember before season 4 Worlds, our schedule for like 3 weeks was literally wake up, scrim, like we'd all have lunch and like VOD review or watch streams or something together. Then we'd scrim again and then go to bed and like rinse, repeat. We did that for like 3 weeks. And that felt like it was such a unique feeling to where now I feel like almost before every tournament, I feel like a lot of teams will throw in like some double blocks or
just even during the regular season.
Yeah, they just want to like get extra practice in, catch up on the meta. And I feel like that really started in season 6. And I feel like it widened the gap. Like you can definitely see it if you go back to older games where you can watch people, like if you watch like Energy and Epsilon, like of course they were just really, really smart and good like players strategically, but they were just out button pressing everybody. Like the skill gap was massive.
They were just better players.
Yeah.
Realistically, like their strategies were good. And in my opinion, like the craziest, like one of the craziest Worlds finals was the second year they won, because I feel like they were Obey, right? They played against, or who was it?
Yeah, season 3.
Yeah, season 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like Obey's strategy going into the set was way better than Energy's. Like it was just a better, like they had a better strategic
I agree.
Thing with what they did with like the hog on the jungler.
It was on the jungler, and
instead
they
of
had
the
like
soul laner,
and
then Vrida was having TP and he was going off because he was just getting fed every game. Because I feel like they had the better strategy, but it's just crazy that they won the set. Even they got out strategized, but they just played better than.
They were just better players. Yeah,
like that first game, they had like that crazy turnaround on the Titan with like Kronos or whatever I remember, and they won the game off it.
Yeah,
but they were just that's what they were. They were just better than everybody back then. So
yeah, I feel like you can still have it to an extent, but I feel like talent wise, for the most part, especially if you get players like who are in their comfortable spots, like certain gods or maybe like certain play styles. You know, like some players are better at healers than other players. Some players are, you know, better at late game gods or whatever the case may be. And I feel like you can still see people shine in that regard, but I feel like there's a lot more parity where like maybe like meta shift or strategy around the map, like where you want to play, I think can kind of highlight different teams or different players. And back then it was literally like, I remember when I first started, I was like, oh, I load into an SPL game and I'm like, oh, am I against Andenster? If no, I'm probably going to win. If yes, I'm screwed. Like like it's over.
The other thing is like I feel like everybody kind of thinks like there's a lot more information out, number one. So like everybody's just going to get better if they watch like any streamer. There's a lot of people that stream the game now, like a lot of the pro players.
Yeah.
And just like a lot of information like everywhere about the game and how to improve. So like the gap right now for like at least playing wise, like there's some really good players in ranked in my opinion. They just don't know the game very well.
Agreed. Yeah.
So like you wouldn't see that a lot back in the older seasons. But like, I'm trying to think. I just lost my train of thought. Dang it! About what? There was a really good example I had of it. I can't remember. But if it comes back to me, I'll bring it up. But yeah, I just feel like there's just so much more information now that it's so easy to kind of learn the game and like play it at like a high level. And it goes with anything like in the world right now. I feel like there's just you can literally load up Google something and you know how to do it. Like I've fixed a bunch of things around the house that I've never imagined that I thought I would be able to do just because of Google.
Yeah.
So
yeah, honestly, it reminds me of like the difference between like playing games back when we were like kids to now. Like the amount of information and like everything is like min max. And I kind of like I call it like in a meme way like the Fortnite generation. Like 15-year-old like now they're like 15-year-old like ranked players and stuff. They're just cracked. Like they're so good. And I feel like you can even tell through them. Like there was a gap in the SPL, I feel like, for so many years of like dice rolling a win. Like you'd be really far behind and you would just like go ahead. You get your thought back.
Yeah, I got it back. Okay, so So like what you were saying about how you're like, oh my god, I'm against Ancestor, I lost.
Yeah.
So like I feel like I had a very like when I played, like everybody, almost the entire community and even like the pro community, like all the teams thought like you play support this way.
Right.
But like I've always had I've always had a different thought process into how I play and think about the game than like everybody else. But I feel like you still can have that, but it's like harder to do now because there's so much information out there that everybody can think in all these different ways now.
Yeah.
So like even from season 0, like I was always invading. I was always playing like weird picks, like Fenrir support back in season 1. Like I always had like a very different outlook in like on the game than what the average person thought, and people always said I was just bad because of it, or just like they just didn't understand. I feel like.
You know, it's kind of interesting because you were someone that you played from, was it still closed beta or what was it at the time when you started?
Yeah, it was closed beta, yeah.
Yeah, so you started playing closed beta. I started playing in the middle of season 1. So when I had started playing and then started like getting more into the game and watched SPL and stuff, I'm coming from like, there's already like...
There's something established already.
Yeah, there's like a narrative already built about like, oh, this is like a jank playstyle. Like you guys on Fat Chunks were known for like being like a gimmicky or like a cheese team. You would play a lot of like you said, like Fenrir or Ares or whatever. And I literally remember when I was learning the game in the SPL, I'd be against you. And I like already had this like pre-built thing of like, oh, this is just like a cheese thing, or like, oh, this is dumb. Here goes Aurora being stupid. And I remember like I was so young and naive that it actually like, I feel like nobody took you seriously. Yeah. Like people just like immediately thought what you were doing was troll. They're like, oh yeah, he's just trolling. But like you weren't at all.
Do you remember the first game we ever played against each other in like a competitive setting or no?
Was it when I was in SCC? You played Fenrir and I was Geb?
Yes.
I remember.
Yeah. So I was laughing because I remember I locked in Fenrir's. He was subbing for some team. I don't remember what team he was subbing for, but it was like his first game that I ever played against Mike, and it was in SCC when I was on Eager. And I remember I early picked Fenrir and he picked Geb, and he's probably thinking, I'm just gonna cleanse the all every time.
Yeah, and I just died off.
In the entire game, I jumped on Mike and ulted him every time.
Oh my god,
but
man.
yeah, no, I just thought that was funny. That's like, because you're like, yeah, this is just so easy. Like I'm just gonna cleanse. But that's just the thought process you got from like everybody else. That's like what was established.
Everyone played the game. It was such like a one-dimensional way of thinking. It was like the only supports you played were like Athena and Geb, and it was like, oh, if you're playing the Athena, you have to taunt the Geb, and if you're playing the Geb, you need to not get taunted. And then the Athena can't do anything. She's not like she can't play the game. There's no way she could alt over to the other side of the map and like own your soul laner or something, right? Like it was such a one-dimensional way of thinking. I actually remember, I don't know how much you remember it, before they were like the group play lands in season 3. Yeah. When I was on Envy, we were like a lower to like top like mid-level team, kind of like a 5th, 6th sort of thing. And I think you guys at the time did really well the first split, and then you were like 3rd or 4th or something the next one.
Yeah.
And I think we had actually scrim partnered you guys for like 2 weeks going into that tournament just because the other people were at a tournament. Or at like their group LAN.
Oh yeah, when you were teaming with Skilly, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I remember this was when you started the like initial like invade hog meta, like your team did at season 3. And I remember playing against it, and Erlang's support, or just like Erlang in general, came out. And like comparing that character now, like his pin was a cripple.
I had to beg my team to play that character for weeks on end. I was like, just let me play him. He's overpowered.
He was so broken. And I remember literally like Oceans and I would die to you guys in lane like every game, and Oceans would be like, yeah, I'm not sure what I have to do at the bot. I'm like, can't you just not take damage? Like that was literally my thought process. Like, shouldn't you just not get owned by that guy? And then we just like win late game, and you guys would invade, and then it wasn't until I really started, like, I had to reverse engineer it because, like, I don't know how you feel about this, but I feel like when you're making, like, I thought about it last year when I like had when I had done like invades on purple last year, for example. I had like a very specific reason that I was doing it and like what I was looking to do, and I feel like it took people a little bit to understand. Like people just kind of started copying it, but I feel like they would just copy it on any character, and they wouldn't really know why I was doing it, and those sort of things like. You have to kind of think backwards because like it's so rare that you're just trying to win the game off of like level 1, because at that time we're like, oh, they just want hog to get an invade at level 1, but it was deeper than that. It was, oh, they get hog and then they have pressure with a raw Erlang if the support plays up, they just combo you, and if you don't play up, they just go to gold and they raw snipe it and hog it and they just walk away.
Yeah, and then we have timers on your buffs. We just go back, get your buffs, and then and then all of a sudden you're 3 levels down and you're like, what the heck is going on?
Yeah, I think for me that was a really big turning point, because that's when I started to realize like there were so many teams that were considered to be really, really good back then, and they were just good because they were, like we said, they were just better button pressers. And then I think that's really like what took the SPL to the next step, was you started to realize like these playstyles aren't actually jank. Like these are just smart plays that people are making, because if a team, it's like the quintessential like, oh well, like we'll just outscale them, we'll just get to 40 minutes and win. But that's not how MOBAs work, right? Like you don't just do a handshake and be like, okay, see you at 40 minutes. Like if one team chooses that they're gonna like dive you and run it down and invade your camps, like you have to be able to respond to that. Otherwise, a good team will just bleed you out. Like they'll just win the game. So I kind of feel like, kind of what you were saying about just back then, I feel like you kind of changed the SPL maybe more than every support for sure, but maybe more than anyone in terms of just like the way people thought. They just used to like literally discount you as troll. I don't know if you remember, we were laughing at it like a bomb's comment before, but like Traveler shoes, I remember Traveler shoes came out and everybody was like, oh, you can't go Traveler shoes, like, oh, cooldown boots, you get 10% cooldown, that's so OP, you gotta have the cooldown. And you would just be running around just poking everybody and you would just be rich every game.
Then I would buy a breastplate or something. Yeah. No, I appreciate that. But I feel like it's just like going back to the point that I was saying, is that it's a lot harder to do that kind of stuff just because everybody, like, there's more established like ways of thinking now,
for sure,
and there's like a lot more information towards everything. So
I feel like it's interesting too, because I don't know what a good example would be, but like a character could get buffed and 2 different players could think of the same character a different way, if that makes sense. Like some people could see like a hunter mid meta, and you can see how like historically how teams have played it. Like for example, like a double hunter meta, Cherry's old teams used to play those for like late game. They would play like double hunter, triple guardian. And then I think the NA style would be more like double hunter with like an Uller mid, and you're trying to win the game in like 20 minutes. Yeah. And I think even within that is really interesting, where the same character can get buffed, but 2 different players can have totally different ideas of like how they can use that to win a game.
And that's what I love about SMITE. Like that's one thing that's just so much fun. Like there's so many different things you can do with characters. Like there's probably like a really OP character in a lane right now that like you're looking at like we know everything already, but I'm sure there's something out there that's like very strong that no one's even thought of yet.
Do you ever just like, I remember doing this when you started playing Herc in season 6, okay? Mm-hmm. I was wondering like, oh, why is he playing that? And initially I'm just like, oh, he's just invading, that's it. Like it doesn't go that much deeper than that. Literally just reading the kit. I literally just read the numbers on the god, because he had gotten buffed over and over for a little bit. Yeah. And eventually you just look at the numbers and you're like, oh my god, this is busted. Like the numbers just get so bloated, or what a character can do can just get so out of hand. Like I think a good example for me would be a character like maybe a character like Kuzumbo. I think when he initially got released, everybody thought he was horrible. He was just like a troll character. He got buffed over and over and over. And I think in season 7, I started
Kabrakan too.
Yeah. I remember season 5, you started playing Kabrakan a lot. Season 7, I started playing Kuzumbo a lot. And it was like, hold on a second. Like, there's probably so many things we can do with this character and use them in ways that like people just can't play against this because they don't know. Like they're just used to playing against Kepri every game or something, you know?
No, yeah, Herc. The thing with Herc is like there's certain characters, it's funny, like there might be a couple characters I have to think about it. Like Herc was like a character I played like through all the seasons as like a character I played in support for fun, and I always thought he had like a lot of potential. But like you said, his kick just kept getting buffed and buffed and buffed, and then it's like, holy cow! Like he just got 20 prots on his 3, like at level 1, so like rank 1 of it, and then he just had so much damage. His passive. Like if you looked at his old passive, it was just insane.
So good.
So you couldn't lose a fight wherever you were at as Herc. So yeah, no, definitely thought like that.
I think moving more away from, kind of the in the game stuff, because we could go for 2 days on this. Moving away from the in the game stuff and more out of the game. I'm kind of curious going back to, combined with the way people have kind of grown, like the amount of knowledge they have. I feel like that also applies to how a team should kind of work together, if that makes sense. Like I'll give an example. Like this year is the first year I've played with completely new players since like season 4. It's been like legit like 5 years for me. I had never had a conversation about competitive Smite seriously with Laspera ever because we were on different teams and like I'm not gonna share information with someone.
Yeah.
But just talking to him, he's only been in the SPL since like season 6 or something like that. And it's still a long time, but I was like, oh my God, like every answer he gave to like how he wants to play the game, how he wants people to like be professional with work and scrim and like watch other SPL teams and take the game seriously and like make sure you're playing ranked at least a little bit, or like if you have new ideas, like tell your teammates, hey, this is my idea. Here's how I want to play with it. Here's why I think it can work. That wasn't common. Like way back in the day. That was not common.
I do feel like Lasper though is like a little bit of an outlier. Like I feel like he's really good at doing that kind of stuff.
He's a really good teammate. Yeah.
So
yeah.
But I agree with you. Like majority of players will give their opinion and their input on like everything, and like people are going to be playing ranked. People are going to be trying different things, and they're going to just be able to talk to you about how they want to play the game mainly. Yeah. And like I feel like a lot of people that I used to talk to and play with, like I would have conversations like, how do you want to play this? And they'd be like, I don't know, I'll just play. Like, yeah, I feel like people kind of have an idea of what they want to do now, which is really good.
I feel like when we had found out you guys had just won Worlds in season 5, and I think we knew like a little bit before that we'd be moving to a LAN league, right?
Yeah, I think we were told. It was like, I think there was rumors like at the beginning of season 5, like when season 5, like this would be the like because they got the orgs involved, I remember,
right?
And then they're like, this is gonna be like the last year of online, and they want to move everybody down to Georgia and play the games on LAN. And I remember it was at Worlds. We found out at Worlds season 5, I think. Maybe
I think it got confirmed somewhere around there. Maybe maybe like regional season 5 or something like that. Or there was like a play-in tournament for season 5 World. I forget what it was, but it was later on.
I think we found out about it sooner, but it was like public like season. But yeah. But we kind of knew like the entire season. I think that this was like the last like online league, and they were planning on. They're just trying to get the logistics down to get everybody over to.
Did that change how? So when we went into that off season, right?
Yeah.
Because I had mentioned like that was the end of my 2 years playing with United, and everybody was either about to graduate high school or had one more year. I think Scream had like 3 more months left, something like that. Did that change how you approached the off season? Because I think, to me, like my perspective, I went into most off seasons with like, I just want the most talented team I could get on. Like I feel like for most people, that's how deep their thought was. Like, who do I think is the best player? Let's just play together and like see how it goes. And I feel like from that year, I feel like there were so many other things to account for. Like I had really wanted to play with Twig that first year because I just thought he was such a good professional. I just felt like he like took the game so seriously. I thought he was like really well thought out with everything, and he would just be someone that like if I lived with him, I feel like I'd be able to enjoy like social life and also enjoy scrimming with him. And I feel like that whole team for us, like that season 5 rival team or season 6 rival team, excuse me, I feel like that completely changed my outlook on competitive Smite, where I felt you were really rewarded for building a team that you could enjoy being around. And I feel like that almost made you better than like your practice. I feel like there were a lot of talented teams, but the ones who got along better outside of the game and really like spent time with each other, most of the progress we made as a team, honestly, was just like going out and having dinner together or going to the gym together and working out, and just like a random idea will just pop in your head and you're just like, oh, let's try this tomorrow. Like that type of stuff. And I was kind of curious how you felt, because I know that you guys had some changes at the start of season 6.
Yeah. So, I mean, like it was weird because we came off of winning season 5. So it was like, we had some issues with like within our team. Like people just didn't get along. It was weird because everybody got like that Splice team. I'd say we got along really well, like outside of the game.
I feel like even now there's still like Moswell and Sino, and like you guys all joke with each other or hang out or
I still queue ranked with Moswell. I love playing just games in general with Moswell, and even Best. I still talk to Best all the time too. Like Best was part of that Splice team as well, and like I feel like all the players on that team, even Divios. I've talked to Divios recently, not as much as Moswell or Best, but I've still kept in touch with him. But I really just enjoyed like being around them, and like sometimes things didn't like go perfectly like in game, and like people have their differences and stuff, but we definitely got along really well. But going in to season 6, I think like Cyclone and Sino both clashed a lot with Divios, especially like in game. They all got along really well outside of game.
Yeah.
But it was just in game, like the way things were working out and like how arguments were happening and just how things were getting resolved. They like both sides were not liking the outcomes of like everything. Yeah. So that was like the main thing that like kind of split our team up. We played, I think, and the other thing that was really rough was that Divios couldn't get his visa. He had to keep going back and giving like additional information, like I think like 6 times or something crazy. Like there was something like really crazy with his visa, and he couldn't get over here. So we all moved down here like 2 months earlier than every other team, which I didn't like. Looking back at it now, it was
probably
not
just too early.
It was not good. Like I think it would have been fine for like maybe like 1 or 2 people like that would make sense for, but like everybody coming down early, it was definitely not worth it. I think like for instance like Cyclone, if he wanted to come down early, like it makes complete sense because he's from West Coast and he gets 120 130 ping when he's playing from California. So like especially back then with where the servers were at, I think it's a little bit different now, but it would make sense for like him, and then like Kabam I know wanted to come down early, and that's completely fine. But for everybody else, I think it was just a little too early, and I think it really like hurt us. Like it kind of like, I wouldn't say it wasn't like a burnout thing, but it was like, I don't know, like if you show up, it's like showing up like a month early for like a job interview or something. It feels like something like it just didn't feel right. I don't know. That's the best way I could explain it.
I'm kind of curious if this applies to your guys' situation or maybe other teams that you've had since then. I remember in season 6, Twig and I had a lot of conversations about like literally being good at losing, not in the sense of like, yeah, we just want to lose every game, you know, not like that, but just like we would try to take losses productively, because I think a big difference between having the league in Georgia and having everybody, you know, at their own homes, wherever they are, is that at the end of scrims, you might stay after and like argue about something in game or maybe debate like a way you want to play the game or something like that. And I feel like you kind of get this escape where like once you put down your headset, you walk away from your computer, you can kind of escape that. You can go do whatever on your own and kind of like cool down, distract. And I feel like that was a lot harder for a lot of people to do in person.
Especially if everybody lived together too.
Exactly, yeah. And I think that's something that a lot of people now have kind of learned and matured. I mean, we've all gotten older, right? So we've matured as people more, and also just as like, I think people have gotten better at valuing the ability to kind of separate like, okay, like we have this disagreement in work. And I think before, maybe like the first couple of years, you could tell there were like some problems with people maybe like cold shouldering each other, or maybe just like not getting along or not wanting to hang out because they were like scrims were going poorly or something like that. And it just drags the whole morale so far down to where I feel like now people are a lot more conscious of like, you know, let's not think about it. Let's just like go to the gym together or something like that,
just
or go take a walk.
Separate like scrims from just like
exactly
everyday life. Because like at the end of the day, we're playing a game and it's supposed to be fun.
Well, I feel like it's interesting too. Like people complain that we all don't like trash talk each other and stuff, but like, of course we do in like scrims. We'll be like, what is this idiot doing? You know, like everyone will trash talk a little bit, but we're also like, I feel like the league as a whole is pretty good at, a lot of people are just like friendly with each other. And I feel like everybody
respects each other.
That's the main thing. Yeah. You respect each other. And I feel like that sort of built-in thing, I think that's progressed the league a lot as well, where I feel like you can scrim against a team. I don't know if it's happened with you guys, but I feel like it's so much more rare that we would scrim a team and like stomp them a couple games and then they would just be done scrimming. They're just like, yeah, we're just done. Like, we just can't do it. We're raging. Like, I feel like that happened all the time, season 6, for us at least. Like, whenever I was playing a team, like, I'm just going to say what it is. Whenever I played a team with European support and I invaded and they didn't, they just dipped out of scrims in like 2 games. They were like, yep, we're not doing it. This is done. Yeah, just every time.
That's funny. I was going to say something to that point as well. I'm trying to... Oh my god, I lost it. It was so good too. It was about something with scrims. I can't believe I lost it. That was so good, dude.
Like discussions during scrims or scrimming.
Oh my god, what was it?
It'll come back.
It'll come back. If it comes back again.
Just interrupt me whenever.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's been kind of interesting. I also think I'm kind of curious, now that we're more removed from it, I'm kind of curious, did you feel like the online league, like when we were still in Georgia, but because of COVID, we were having to play online, we weren't able to come into the studio. Do you feel like that was, because for me, I think for both of us, actually, it was the first time, like when we moved here, it was moving away from our family. And I actually felt like that was still a big adjustment for a lot of people. And I actually think that combined with the very next year was the COVID year. I feel like that was such a big shift for people where like you're literally, especially the European and Latin American guys, like literally can't see their family away from home for maybe the first time ever.
Inside
yeah, they're stuck inside. Yeah, I was kind of curious.
Stuck into like wherever you're situated at.
Because you played with Adapting and Big Man that year, right?
Yeah.
I was kind of curious, like your perspective of, how that changed the league or like your enjoyment of it.
Yeah, I mean, that year was rough. It was like my least enjoyable year for SMITE. Like, it was like the first time I thought, I was like, am I going to do this again next year?
Yeah.
Like, it was a rough year because I think for teams to just be able to, even if it's just like a small thing, like going out and getting food with your teammates or just like going for like a walk somewhere, like at like a nice forest preserve or hiking trail, like something like just doing little things like that, like add up to like having a better team environment. And like we did none of that because we couldn't.
You just can't.
Yeah, exactly. We went to like the store together. Like that's all we did. Like every 2 weeks we'd go to grocery shopping.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, it was rough that year. I feel like that year was just, I'm glad it's over. That's all I can think about it. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like that year was so much different than every other year because, like you said, we were playing online even though we lived in Georgia.
Right, yeah.
So we still lived with our team. Did you live with your team that year?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. Max or Panda and Fine they both stayed home. Alec had lived in Florida and Max lived in New York. So it was really it was me, Slaney, Sam, and Twig. We were all in the house at all times together. And then those two guys, like whenever it was safe, they would fly for like a tournament or something.
Yeah, that year, like, I know we were talking about it a little bit before the podcast. Like you're saying, like how Europeans have to like sacrifice a lot more than like the NA players. Like for me, I could have gone home during the COVID year, which selfishly and which I feel like I should have done that honestly, because I think I would have had a better year mentally overall if I did that. But I felt bad because Biggie, Australians as well, same thing as the European guys. Yeah. Like they can't go back. Like if they did go back, they're gonna be stuck on ping. And it's just not gonna be a good time. So I felt like as like a teammate to them, like I owed it to them to stay and play. And same thing with Cyclone as well. Like he couldn't go back because he goes to West Coast ping, it's the same thing as playing almost on EU ping. It's like very similar. Yeah. So like these guys can't go back. Like if I go back, I'm gonna feel really bad about it. So yeah, I hung in there, but it was definitely a rough year. I feel like for everybody involved. Like just I didn't really get to know like Big Man and Adapting, I feel like that well at all that year because we didn't really get to do that much. I got to talk to Biggie quite a bit because we sat next to each other with our setups. Like we had a scrim room and then and then we had our personal setups that year as well. So
yeah. I think what you had kind of touched on, I feel a lot. I felt it with Twig and Arkle initially in season 6 with Rival, but I definitely feel it even more. I mean, now I'm the only North American player on my team, and just hearing them talk about how long it's been since they have seen family or how much more time they spend away, like it just makes me want to try so much harder because I feel like we all like. If you're in the SPL and we all love SMITE and we're all competitive people and we love playing it, like playing a video game for a job is such an insane thing.
We're so fortunate.
Yeah, it's such an insane thing to think that we're able to do that.
For as long as we've been able to, because I tell people all the time, like it's so funny, like nowadays it's a little easier to explain. It used to be impossible. Yeah. But like I tell people, they're like, you've been doing it for how long? And it's like
when I literally, okay, so for those of you who don't know, maybe this is a longer story for another time. I literally only got a shot in the SPL because you quit your team. And when I got, approached about it, I literally thought I was going to get kicked at the end of the split just because everybody else was roster locked. So I literally went into it thinking like, oh yeah, by time like it's a summer break, I'll play the summer split, they'll kick me and I'll play Challenger Cup while I go to college the way I have been. And then they kept me and I'm like, I guess I'll just take a gap year. And I literally thought I was just going to take a gap year and be done. And here I am 9 years later. Like, I'm still doing it. Like, it's so...
That's crazy. That's
yeah,
yeah, that's cool. That's really cool.
Like, it's so grateful to be in that position. And I feel like we all sacrifice different things and we're more than willing to do it because we love what we do and we're so fortunate. But it's just another level. Like, the LATAM guys, the Australian guys, the European guys, it's just a whole new level of sacrifice that they give. And I feel like that's something where I appreciate it a lot, where I feel like a lot of the pro players, we stream way more than we did before. Like I think the amount of players that
not
like,
me though.
You have a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But like the amount of players that just like they stream, they play more in scrims, like I feel like it's so much more dedicated, and I feel like every year I'm learning so much more about the game, and I feel like that's a really playing ranked does not like scratch that itch for me in Smite anymore. Like I still have fun playing the game. I wouldn't play it if I didn't have fun. But it's like when you learn new things in competitive, or you get better at like strategies, or you have new ideas, that's what really is like, oh my God, I love this.
Yeah.
And I feel like every year I'm just learning so much more with that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Just there's like nothing's the same as like, I feel like if you talk to anybody that competes at the highest level of anything, like just being able to be in that competition, like feels so good. But it's also like, it is hard to like keep you, if you want to stay in and compete for a long time, like we have, you have to adapt a lot and like, and make a lot of sacrifices. Like the Europeans have made so much. They've had to change the way they've played. They've had to move here, and then same with us. Like we've had to change the way we've played a little bit. Yeah. And we've had to move here as well, not to the same extent, but it's just a lot of sacrifices are made, like just being able to play, and it's really worth it, especially if you like the game a lot. And for me personally, like I tell everybody, like if I didn't like Smite, like I would be done playing.
Yeah,
like
sure.
I'm not like I love the game so much still, and I enjoy playing it. And if I did not like it, I would be done.
I mean, it goes back. I had told you like earlier, like it struck me so much when you had that interview at Worlds, and I was like, I can't believe I've never heard another player other than you give an answer like that, like in front of a crowd. I've never heard even like just like people always like shout out fans and be like, oh, thanks for supporting us, and it's all genuine, right? Like we literally would not have our job if people didn't enjoy it, if people didn't watch, and you know they're not passionate about the same thing that we are. But I've never heard somebody say it, like, thanks for loving Smite as much as I do. Like, that still sticks to me just because I feel like just the gaming community in general, I feel like it used to be such, like, I don't want to call it, like, an outcast community, but, like, it wasn't, like, well-known or popular.
It's more mainstream.
Yeah, mainstream. Yeah, there you go.
It's not as mainstream as it, like, it was definitely not. Like, if you told someone, oh, I play games, they're just going to...
I feel like you almost were, like, embarrassed about it.
It had a negative stigma to it. Like, nowadays, like, oh, you play games. Like, that, it's more accepted because it's more mainstream. Yeah,
and I feel like that type of, I guess, unity within Smite, I think that's been the rewarding thing for me as well, is I feel like it's so cool. Like, of course, there's the competitive career and stuff, but I don't know if you ever think about this. Like, it's really just... I thought about it when you were talking about the ability to adapt over time and to like change the way you play and all that sort of thing. I think that's really important with our job, but I think what's also really important is the ability to kind of like, there's a lot of pressure that I think we put on ourselves to perform really well, to like have a really good game all the time. And I think to kind of like zoom out from that, I know something I always used to use as an example is that like Fred, Cuvo Fred.
Yeah.
I would always hear him and Trix Tank when they were on Dig talk about like they were so good. Like every single year in Europe, they would place like first in a split. They'd get to like finals of tournaments. They'd win like normal like summer, spring tournaments, all of that. And then they wouldn't have a good end of the year. And I felt like they put so much pressure on themselves to like, oh, the rest of the year didn't even matter because we like lost at Worlds or something like that. And I feel like something that a lot of people are better at now is like, of course we want to win Worlds. Of course that's the ultimate goal and that's what we're playing for. Yeah. But I feel like people are so much better at having a zoomed out approach and being proud of all of the little things they've done over the years. Like it's so crazy to think like people like I hate it. Oh my God. I hate it in sports so much when people are like, oh yeah, like LeBron has been to like whatever it is, 10 finals and he's lost like 6 of them or whatever it is. Like
he made 10 finals.
Yeah, like he made 10 finals. Like you and I are both like we've been to like World's Finals 3 times. We're each 1 and 2. And I'm right. Like I will take losing in the finals over losing in quarters any day of the week.
Or not even making Worlds.
Yeah, or not even making like I'm still like proud of those achievements. And so, like you can't win everything, and I feel like it's just so gratifying that stuff.
I think like the biggest thing is like that's like part of moving down here is like it's our life now.
Yeah.
Like if you like as dumb as it sounds, like SMITE is our life. Like we practice every single day. Even on our off days, we're playing ranked. I'm always thinking about the game at some point in the day. Like there hasn't been a time. There's been weeks where I think like season 6 was like the first time. Like the beginning of season 6, I remember like in January or something was like the very first time I like didn't play SMITE for like an entire week. Like I'd always at least try to play like a game a day or like a game every other day. And I'm like, whoa, this is weird. And like. But like it's just our life now because we moved down here. We literally are surrounded by everybody else doing the same thing, and it's just what we're accustomed to. And it's like if you can't look at the small victories like then you're not going to be in a good place mentally. I feel like because it's what you're living for basically. So you got to be happy with the successes that you have. I feel like
I think. That's really, I mean, this isn't even like a SMITE thing, but I hate that about, I feel like it's kind of everybody, but I feel like it's really like North American culture, especially is like, it's just commonplace to like make fun of people for like LeBron, for example, like hating on him for like making the finals and losing. I just think like, I've never understood that because I feel like if you do anything competitively, you know how hard it is to repeat that type of consistency at the top level over and over and over. And I feel like I just am someone who I like to appreciate like those sort of accomplishments or the things that they've done. Like if I'm like a basketball fan, it sucks that I didn't get to watch, Michael Jordan in his prime, that type of thing. And I just feel like everybody loves to like hate and make fun of people, or like Damian Lillard or someone like that. Like they like to make fun of people who like don't win rings or something. And then on the other end of it, they're like, oh, if you join up with a bunch of superstars to win, then the ring doesn't even count like they do with KD and stuff. And it's like at that point, you're just hating on everything. Like, why not just enjoy everything? And like, I don't know. I hate it.
Yeah, I feel like what I told my team, every Worlds I've been, I'm like, just enjoy the moment because who knows if you're gonna ever be back here. Like even for me, like that's what I've told myself every time, and I try to tell my team like enjoy this because who knows if we're gonna get another opportunity. You never know if you get sick, if you get into like if there's like a bad accident or so, like you never know, or if you just get kicked off your team. Like there can be a lot of things that happen to you between this Worlds and the next Worlds. You never know if you're gonna be back here. So like I always try to tell my team when we're at really cool events there to just really enjoy the moment as much as possible because who knows if you're ever going to be back there.
Yeah,
and that's what I try to do every single time as well.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, one of the most fun things, like, of course we want to win every time we play, and only one team can win. So one team's going to be way happier than everyone else, you know, at a tournament. But I still feel like every single tournament, no matter how I've placed in the tournament, I've always tried to have a good experience with like the fans or the community in general, because I feel like that's what makes it feel special. I remember,
and they're the reason why we're doing it as well. So they deserve it, like at these events, to like, have some cool interactions and just be able to talk to us in person, because that's the only time they get to see us the entire year.
I remember the first year that I played in season 2, I didn't make Worlds, but I really wanted to go anyways, just for fun as a spectator. And I remember that feeling of the crowd was so unlike anything else that I've ever been around. Like I've been to, you know, pro sporting events or whatever, and like huge crowds, but that one specifically, it felt so special because it felt like it was like our thing, kind of.
Yeah, you're part of it.
And it felt the same way this year, where like we lost to you guys in the semis, and I was so annoyed at myself because I felt like I had such a bad like finish to that set, and I was instantly like, you know, I I kind of didn't like talk to the fans that much the day before because I was sick before the tournament and I just like didn't want to risk it.
Yeah.
And then that Saturday that we played you guys in semis, I like finally felt like 100%. I'm like, okay, I'm not worried about like getting anyone sick, all that. And I was like, if I don't do this today, like if I don't go hang out with fans now, they might not even get to see me and that would suck. So I remember like it was so hard to like lose the semis and be annoyed at how I played and then go talk to people. But I'm so, in hindsight, I'm so glad I did it because the amount of people that shared really cool stories about just like watching your SPL games or people who have been watching us for, you know, nearly a decade now.
Yeah.
It makes it feel just so much better. It makes it feel like you have more of a purpose, I guess, you know?
Okay. Little off topic. It's still relating to Worlds. When we were doing, did you do the meet and greet line? Yeah. So I was laughing because there was a lot of people that came for Paul because people love Paul.
Of course,
because he's back to back. Obviously, he's insane, and there's nothing to not love about Paul.
Yeah.
But some people didn't even know who I was, and I was laughing about that. Yeah, it's like
that's awesome.
I was like, this is sick. Like I actually liked it. I was like, there's no way this guy's like, he's like, who are you? And I'm like, oh, I play with this guy, and he's like, oh, nice. And it is so funny to me that like I feel like I've been around for so long that like there's a lot of new fans that came in that just don't even know like the history of everything, which is cool.
I think it's kind of exciting.
I think that made me happy. Like, that there's more people coming into the game and like viewing the game. Like, if they don't know who I am, that's a good thing for like the league in general. I feel like as a new fan coming in for the last couple of years.
Yeah, I agree. I remember it's kind of funny you say that because Panda Cat and I would always joke at Worlds and stuff. We'd be like, oh yeah, if we just want to like be unnoticed, we just have to walk behind Fine OK. Nobody will even see us. All the fans will just talk to Alec, so we don't even have to worry about it.
That's funny.
Yeah, no, it is really cool. I think the amount of people where I'm just like streaming or something and they're like, oh yeah, I started playing season 7. I'm like, season 7? Like I felt like I was ancient at that time. Like I can't believe it, but it's really cool now where it just feels like
but that makes me feel like Smite's in a really good spot. Like people always talk about the game dying and everything.
Oh my God, they always have.
Dude, the game's been dying since season 1, and guess what? We're still here 10 years later, baby. We're still here.
You know, it's pretty funny because I think there's always something you can complain about within like a game, or it could really be anything. Like it could be traditional sports, anything. I feel like people don't really give Smite enough credit for we're obviously not CSGO or something, right? Like we're not like this massive game, but I feel like for them to keep their like own league in production, I mean like us getting to like use this booth for the podcast is so cool.
Really
like
cool,
it's so cool. Like most leagues aren't like, there's very few leagues who have been able to accomplish that and do it for a literal decade
and have really strong consistency as well.
Yeah, and I feel like there's, especially with all the adversity with like COVID and stuff, I don't know how much you pay attention to, I guess like other esports and see like kind of the way like the way orgs are kind of going with that type of stuff.
Yeah,
honestly I feel like we were kind of ahead of the curve on that a little bit. Like Smite I feel like is actually really ahead of a lot of things with that.
Yeah, I feel like it just like I feel like the esports division and like the players are like a lot closer than like other esports divisions and players. Like just talking to my brother, for instance, like we can talk to like the head of the esports like department like very easily, I feel like. And in terms of like league, they have to go through so many hoops and like it's like they have to have like a middleman for everything, but we can just do it ourselves, which feels great. Yeah, which is really good. So
yeah, I think that's honestly been something like moving down here that I think has also been really cool, is being able to be around the casters or even see them, like the casters, the production team. I'm not going to spoil it all, but we have like ideas that we want to get into in future episodes, but there are so many people behind the scenes that I feel like have been so key to Smite Esports and the SPL that people don't even know about. Yeah. And I think it's so cool to like think about that type of stuff and kind of the history behind it. And I used to be a doomer for sure. I was a pretty big doomer, but I've been really optimistic because I just feel like it's hard to do something over and over and over. And I think like you can grow out of touch with something. Like I know you had maybe mentioned season 7 and thinking like, oh, am I going to do this again? I had felt that way in season 8 where I was kind of questioning my motivation and my drive and my competitive hunger and all that type of stuff. And I'd always thought to myself, like, okay, whenever that is gone, that's when I know, like, I want to be done.
Yeah.
And I just think you go in phases through that stuff. Like, I'll go in phases of, oh, I really want to, play this god or this game or watch this show. And I'm just someone, like, you just can't do the same thing all the time. And I feel like too often people kind of like, oh, I don't like this patch, this game sucks. And I'm more like, there's seasons I like more than other seasons. Like, I wasn't a huge fan of season 8, and that probably impacted it. And whereas like other years I liked a lot, and it was super fun to me. So I don't know. I guess my point is that moving into season 10, I think a lot of people have just been like, oh, like, you're such a like shill or whatever, because I'm just like, yeah, I like love all these patches, but like I was playing. There was like a stretch last year.
Yeah.
I played literally like 20 health support games in a row in rank. And then people are like, oh, what do you think of the patch? I'm like, yeah, I like the patch a lot. Actually, I love the patch. Ooh. Like, I wonder why, like there's stuff like that. Like, I genuinely just enjoy the season. I like the way the game is, and I like that. I really feel like I'm playing a new game again. Like, I get that kind of feeling of, I feel like I'm relearning a lot of characters and like how to use them and stuff.
There's new avenues to explore, it feels like, this year. Like the last couple of years, it feels like the avenues to explore the game haven't been as vast and wide, but like there's like a lot of different things that I feel like are like untouched territory so far this year, which is really cool to think about.
Yeah, agreed. Do you wanna maybe talk to chat for a bit? Maybe answer
I wanted to ask you one last question about moving down.
Go for it.
So when you moved down, like, did you have a lot of friends that you were close to, like, back at home and stuff, or no?
I kind of like stayed in touch with a few people, but most of them all moved out to college and stuff. So I'd see them like around holidays.
And then what
stuff.
about like your family? Were you close to like any of your siblings or anything like that?
I lived with my 2 brothers and my parents. Yeah. And then the same year that we moved to SPL, my older brother moved to Texas and my youngest brother went to college. So
your parents were probably super sad.
It was so hard on my mom. It was so hard on my parents. I love my parents. I'm so lucky. They've been so supportive the whole time of just like playing Smite or just whatever like me and my brothers have wanted to do. They've always been so good with that.
I was just curious, like what did everybody think, like your brothers as well, and like your parents, and like just every your close friends like around you from home, like were they like, are you actually doing this, or like what did they say? Like I'm super curious.
My close friends were like, okay, so in high school, I was just such an idiot kid. Like, I regret it looking back, but I was just one of those kids, like, I just did the bare minimum to like get, like, I would want to like get an A in my class. So I'm like, I'm not kidding. That I have a story from like high school. I had a final coming up. Okay. And instead of prepping for the final and trying to do as well as I could, I literally did the math on how many questions I had to get right to keep my A for the year. And it was like 5 out of 20 or something like that. And I literally just studied 5 questions where I literally just like I literally scrolled through the test and found the 5 easiest ones and did them and handed it in, and I just walked out. I was such a piece of crap.
That's efficiency right there.
It was, but I was I just didn't apply myself the most, except when I played video games with my friends. We would play a lot of like Halo Reach or COD or Halo 3, like just Halo COD, all that time. I was cooking them. Like I would literally I would literally 1v4 my friends, because we're all just playing for fun, but I've played video games my whole life and I've just enjoyed grinding them. So when I told my friends, they're like, oh, that's sick. Like, that makes so much sense. Like, you've always like that sort of stuff. And same thing with my brothers. They had played games with me growing up.
Yeah.
And my parents were like, when we first, for my first LAN, it was COG Invitational.
We gotta do a whole episode about that.
Yeah,
That's
we should.
Fun. Yeah.
We should. Yeah, my first LAN was COG Invitational, and I remember my mom. She didn't tell me in the moment because she didn't want to freak me out. She was like terrified of me going, and they've told me now. Like my parents literally wanted to book a flight at the same time as me and literally like stalk me to make sure they wanted to stalk me to make sure I was okay and I wasn't being kidnapped. And I was like, no, God, like I didn't tell them this back then. They didn't tell me, but I'm like, yeah, like I showed them. Yeah, they paid for my hotel room, my flight. Like, here's my team, here's the stream, here's what we're doing, and it was so crazy. But yeah, now they enjoy it. What's it been like for you?
Yeah, I feel like for me, like I have a unique situation because my brother also played games. and like he played in the LCS, and that was like back in season 2 when he joined. And it was really hard for my mom, and she didn't want him to leave, and like she wasn't sure. I'm like, no, you have to let him do this. It's gonna be sick.
Yeah.
So he moved out, so my mom was already kind of used to like the whole thing.
Yeah.
And my mom, it was like, my mom always makes fun of me now because she's like, oh, you always wanted to move out and live with your team and stuff, and like you always said that Sam's so lucky that he gets to do that, and now I get to do it, and it's funny because like it is really cool.
It is, yeah.
And it's just funny to think like I was able to do it with SMITE. Like a lot of people, dying game, still kicking and having a LAN league, which is sick. So
when you were in school, did your other friends play other video games with you?
Yeah, so I'm really close. I have like a really close friend group.
Okay,
like,
cool.
Like 10 guys. Like we've all known each other since grade school. So I've known them all 20 years plus. Like
Gotcha.
I'm 28 and I've known them since they've been like 7, 6,
that's so
7,
cool, yeah.
8 years old. So I've known them forever. And like I still talk to them. They came to Worlds. Like a bunch of all my friends that were there. Like I've known for a really long time.
Season 5 Worlds was literally like, for those of you who weren't there, for Splice season 5,
Splice home crowd.
The world's crowd was literally just Aurora's friends and family.
Yeah. They all, dude, it's crazy. They all take time off work. They all fly in. They all do it. Like they all do it, and it's so much fun that they all come down. So I always try to hang out with all those guys whenever they come down because they sacrifice a lot to come down. Like they pay for everything themselves.
That's so cool.
They take time off work or school or whatever they're doing at that point in their life. But yeah, no. For them, they're always laughing because they always call me and Sam, like they always thought we were like insane at like any game we played. So they're like, oh yeah, it makes sense. And
yeah, it's got to be in the blood. You get a
It was only a matter of time. They always joke about. But yeah.
Yeah, for me it was really cool too because like the excitement, or saying it was like so lucky for your brother Sam to be able to move and like play with his teammates. For me, it was really cool because I had friends that I played video games with, but there were other games that I really liked playing that were like nerdy games when I was a kid. Like WoW was like, if you played WoW, you were like the nerdiest guy ever. Like you were like, back then in my like middle school and stuff, WoW was only for like 40-year-old losers like in their like mom's house. That was like the cliche or whatever. And like it's just a game. Like I'm just having fun playing a game.
In my middle school, I got all my friends into it. Like
That's
everybody was
awesome.
playing WoW. We were all playing WoW. It was so troll. I remember one of my birthday parties, they all came over and they were all like getting into RuneScape. I'm like, guys, RuneScape's not it. Like we gotta get into WoW.
I'm so jealous.
And we've watched like a bunch of like those old like WoW versus RuneScape. It would be like the huge raid boss, and then it would be like auto attack in RuneScape. It was like super biased towards WoW. But thinking about it now, it's super funny because they probably went home and they're like, I need to get this game, and they told their parents, and then their parents had to buy the game, buy a subscription, and they all still play games today, like even now. So it's really cool.
I think for me, like my friend group would play it, but it definitely was not like that. That sounds so much fun, like so much fun. For me, moving into a team house was the first time I was like, okay, everyone here kind of has the same interest, and like they get it. Like it was just so fun to just like talk about other games with people, and like it's not all we did. We still like went to the gym and lifted together and did all that other stuff. But I felt like it for a little bit there. I feel like there's times where we could probably do another episode about this in the future. But like I've always been a like gamer as like a hobby, and then when you do it as a profession, it kind of changed my enjoyment of other games like for fun.
Yeah.
And I feel like I kind of got that back a little bit in season 6 when we all came down here, because I felt like I could separate like the professional side of it from the hobby, and like we would just talk about games as like a hobby. Like sometimes we would just play other games with each other for fun. We'd play like, you know, board games, even like not even like on the computer, right? Just like board games or whatever. And I felt like it just, it was just so good. It was so fun to like, it was hard to move down here, I feel like, in some regard, because like our parents, I'm sure like everyone's parents like miss you and your family and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's so cool.
Yeah, no, I was always curious about that. But yeah, do you guys have anything in chat that you guys want to talk to us about? Does anyone have a name for us yet?
Yeah, we still need a name. Yeah, still need a name or whatever else. I mean, we can answer a few questions. There will be a VOD for this, so we should probably touch on that. We want to do that before the end of it. Like, So for today, we streamed it to Max's channel, Aurora's channel. We're still figuring out exactly what our schedule and stuff looks like, because of course we both have scrims and we have SPL and all that type of stuff. So we're trying to figure out the best time slot, and we're also trying to figure out, kind of like what channel will be streamed to. So this episode, the first one, will be. We just really wanted to do one before the start of the SPL was our main thing.
Yeah.
So this one will be on his channel. The VOD will be available. It'll also be on the SMITEPro YouTube.
I don't know. I think my VODs. I have to look at my Twitch.
Oh,
so
okay.
I have to see. I forget how it works, but
okay.
I don't know how it's set up. But it's gonna be on SMITEPro YouTube for sure.
Yeah, it'll be on SMITEPro YouTube, and they also have a Spotify account that I think is inside the SPL. You'll be able to listen to it there as well. So we'll update you guys on Twitter or whatever, but you will be able to have the VOD in some form or another. And then, moving forward, we'll just keep you guys updated with whatever we do, whether it's on Max's channel or mine or whatever. Like, we're still figuring all that out.
Yeah, we don't have anything finalized yet. We're still trying to figure out like all the little things for the show, especially like we definitely need a name.
Yeah, to be honest, we just mainly just want to talk about stuff that we think's fun.
These what?
Wait, who said that?
Supporting these. These what? What do you think he's talking about?
I don't know. Is that like a kid thing?
You don't know those jokes?
No, D's what?
What is it?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
I'm trying to figure out what it is.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
If we're not doing, guys, no more people saying the frontliners at Cyclone Spin specifically. No more saying the frontliners.
Yeah, we're not doing the frontliners. There's no way.
I do kind of like the Traveler's proc, but I also like the idea of it being like some sort of
Traveler's proc's pretty good. I like that one. That's like the best name I think we got so far, suggestion wise.
Leave it to Kabam, that little guy. He's actually not really like, I always say like little guy for fun because I just call my cats little guys.
So you're saying Kabam's a cat?
I kind of wish Kabam was a cat.
So Munch is considered.
Munch is for sure a little guy.
So is he a cat as well then?
Well, like, I see, like, you see like a little guy on the street and you're like, oh, that's a good dog. And like Kabam's like a good dude. So I'm like, oh, that's a little guy. That's how my brain works. That's how my brain works. Oh God.
The other thing I want to mention too is that we want to have guests on. That'll be something that we do in the future as well. Me and Mike have. I think we have like a doc where there was like 30 that we put down like right away. Of
honestly,
we
have like a year's worth of guests, and we haven't even done one episode by that point.
We haven't asked anyone yet, obviously, but like there's a lot of people that we definitely want to have on the show, and I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, for sure. I think also just for those of you who maybe weren't here at the beginning, kind of covering the whole goal of it. This episode we did a little bit of both, and maybe before a tournament or something, we might touch on. Kind of current SMITE events if it's really big, like, before Worlds. I'm sure we'll talk about Worlds or something.
Or if something happens like in the SPL that's like not.
Someone gets 5 pentas in a game or something.
Something crazy happens. Yeah, we'll touch on it. But it's just going to be brief about current SMITE. Like it's never, the show's not going to be focused around current SPL. Yeah,
so I think if there's ever, things that you guys are curious about, whether it be, kind of how scrims work or random stories or whatever, we have so many in our mind that we definitely want to share. But if you guys have more that you've never heard about that you're maybe interested in, just add us on Twitter or something whenever. Like that's the stuff we're really excited to share, because I feel like honestly, like I kind of said this to Max the other day, we could literally stop playing our career right now and we'd have enough stuff to talk about forever. Like just for so many years we'd have so much stuff to talk about, and it all keeps building. I think like I'm just such a nerd about like storylines and I guess like traditional sports, like careers and like I guess like legacy type of stuff, but not really legacy. Just like like it feels more significant the longer it goes, I guess, sort of thing. Like I love that type of stuff. So I really want to share more of things that you guys just wouldn't get to hear about. If we're just playing ranked and we're like, yeah, dude, this got so busted. Like I want to talk about like the actual stuff. I think it's really fun.
Yeah, and it's good for us too, because like right now we're still playing, and like talking about like current SMITE is not beneficial for either of us. So that's another big thing as well.
Invade meta as a name.
That'd be a fun episode to talk just about that.
Invading in general.
The season 6 meta.
We could go for so long.
That would be fun. I would love to talk about that, actually. That's a really good idea.
Yeah. That'll be a propaganda episode. I miss those days.
But yeah, we're definitely trying to figure out what name we want.
You actually like the unnamed Aror and Mike podcast? No way we can do that. That's too hard to say.
Nah, that'd be.
Nah.
It's good. It's like a good bit for a while.
It's like funny, yeah.
Yeah, but it'd be like new people getting into the podcast. They see that, be like, "What is that?" Like,
yeah.
After a while, so support gap, the chunky bears. Can we talk about Boots of Talaria? Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. I love Boots of Talaria.
Yeah. Have you? Okay. I guess maybe you can't say as much, but like when I saw Cannoneers for the first time in the game this year,
yeah,
I'm like, I really want that to be good because it's so satisfying to just hit something and just like see like plus gold. Like it's so satisfying.
Yeah, no,
I love it.
That item's cool. I feel like those items though are always like one item that I will say that I said was broken beyond belief was Benevolence when it first got introduced, and everybody's like, it's not that good. And if you're getting XP in passive gold,
insane.
any passive XP, like any source of additional income in game or additional like XP, like items like that, you got to be really careful with them being good.
Yeah,
because then it will be bought in every single role, and it will be abused to get something really fast.
4 Benevolence meta or whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
I remember, it was 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, season 8, wasn't it?
Yeah, I remember it was when, oh my God, it was when Bobble got put into the game. We were scrimming against the Bolts when they had Haddix still, I remember. And there was a team fight where Haddix played Jing 10, he won Bobble, and it was a 60% CDR Bobble. And I think he's Jing 10. Each team had 5 Compassions. The junglers even won it because we had like Thanatos and I forget some other jungler. We literally had 5. We were just fighting in mid, I remember. And he's Jing 10 ulted us, I think 6 times in one fight.
Okay, that's
like,
gotta be a troll.
it was like the most, like, because it was like the fight started at our base and like we pushed him back to mid lane and then it like went towards fire. And then,
you guys literally played Assault.
We were like running around the map.
Yeah.
And he's just Jing 10 ulting every time it comes off cool, and no one's dying because we had healing as well. It was so stupid.
Yeah.
But that stuff's so funny.
I had saw someone bring this up earlier, and we could also talk about it in the past too. Like I had mentioned I thought Pegon was good enough to play forever. Someone asked, who do you guys think is a ranked player that you thought was good enough for competitive but never played comp? Or maybe players that we think now are really good that just don't have that experience yet or aren't as into it. Does anyone really stand out to you on that?
Yeah, one player that no one would even... I don't even know if you know who he is. Death Creeps in Season 1.
I actually do remember that name, yeah.
Death Creeps and Icky Sticky from back in Season 1. Those guys were insane at SMITE. And they could easily played like if they... The problem is a lot of people back then, I feel like, were good enough to play, but they just didn't care to.
Yeah.
Like a good example, I feel like, is like Neil was like another player who was definitely good enough back then to play, but like he didn't want to commit to playing SPL.
I didn't know that Neil had been playing for as long as he had. I literally thought he was like a new player because I think he took a break or something in season 2 when I played a lot.
Yeah, he played season 1. He was in the SPL for like a game or two on Wolfie's team.
Yeah, I didn't even know that. Was that with like with Jaco and stuff?
Yeah, with Jaco. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So like that's like Neil's like a perfect example of where like there was a lot of people back then that I feel like were probably good enough to play, but just didn't want to, so, or put the time in.
I feel like it's a weird thing that I was kind of more open to in more recent years, like maybe season 5. I guess I don't even know how recent that is anymore. I started to play a lot of duel, and I realized like there's a lot of really good duel players mechanically. Like, you know, obviously Paul's the first person that people think about that was like a sick duel and joust player who is now, of course, like insane. I think there's a lot of players like Pringles, for example, or there's some other ADCs like Axiom Speed or Hydrogen that I play with in ranked.
Yeah.
And I get on my team and I'm like, these guys are really good. Like they're really good players. It just takes time, like competitive experience, and if you have the time to dedicate
That's
to
what I
it.
was saying earlier. Like those players are just as good as anybody else. It's just
They're
they
good,
lack the knowledge, like the competitive knowledge that you only get from playing in like a competitive environment, basically. And scrimming.
Yeah, it's a hard thing too because you can't really like. You can try to jumpstart that process a little bit. Like if somebody gets a chance to, like I thought it was really cool that Gabe got to sub for the Leviathans. Like, That's such a cool thing where Gabe has been a ranked player for a while, and he's been like a fine ranked player.
He's been good as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but like being able to actually like jumpstart that and get a random opportunity is so cool. Yeah.
I feel like he probably learned way more in like those like 2 weeks, or I don't know how long.
Yeah,
or
but
how
I think
many
a couple
sessions
weeks,
he played with them or whatever. But he probably learned way more just in that time than he did in like, I bet, since the beginning of the year from the new season. So yeah.
The Hogcast. Are you a hog enjoyer?
What's a hog?
Hand of the Gods?
Oh, Hand of the Gods?
Yeah. Do you think I meant like a pig?
Yeah, I'm so confused.
What, man? We play Smite. What do you mean, what is hog?
Oh, Hand of the Gods. Yeah, the Hogcast would be pretty cool, actually.
I'm personally I'm a
I was so confused for a second.
I'm a hog disbeliever, personally. My gosh. Oink, oink. You have a good pig impression?
I used to try to do some pig squeals.
Oh, I could never do the squeal. I could do like the, like that. I can do that.
I don't even think I could try because like I don't even know how to even do it anymore.
Is that a boar noise? Did I do a boar? Not a pig?
Like a wild boar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm in Elwyn Forest right now.
Dude, every game, this boar noise is the same from WoW. It's so weird. They use they recycle that.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, but any meowers? Meow?
Guys, we really gotta name the podcast, guys. We gotta have something. Are we just uploading an unnamed podcast for the first one?
I mean, it might be.
Yeah, why not?
We just call it Make Mike Plug
HUD competition.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I guess we're kind of wrapping up for the most part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you have anything else, but for me, I'm gonna do a HUD competition. I know you've had a hard time getting used to it, but for me, I've been really enjoying the new UI, the new HUD.
I'm an old HUD enjoyer still.
Yeah, I mean, it's still so good, but I have something in my brain, like I have to play, like I love playing the game like it's WoW. Like I think most people would hate my HUD, but I like literally have my abilities and my relics next to my character.
Have you streamed yet with your new HUD or no?
I streamed it when like right before it got taken away, but no, not since. I'll probably stream sometime like soon this week and show it, but yeah, I'm gonna do a HUD competition. So if you want to get involved in that, it's literally like I'll just judge it. If you want to do a meme HUD for fun, like for example, I had an idea of like the Zapman ranked HUD, and like you're just mini-maps disabled, like you just don't have it. Like, that's the Zapman ranked HUD. Like maybe my HUD is like all my keybinds are W in rank, that type of stuff. Like if you want to do a meme HUD, I'll judge that as well. Or if it's like a serious like clean or like good HUD. So yeah, if you want to get involved in that, if you go to my Twitter or my Twitch or whatever, I have a community Discord. You can hop in there, link, screenshots, everything. I'm going to do that. Probably, I'm thinking maybe this weekend, like after SPO, like Sunday night or something. So you guys could hop in that. I'm also doing a competition against the villain of Smite History Weekend. Yeah.
667, baby.
Yeah. So I'm going to do the winner of my community and the winner of his community will kind of have a community vote event, and the winner of that will get some cool stuff and some more gems. So yeah, get involved in that if you guys want. PBM's first name, Aurora's last name, Michael Jackson podcast. dude, imagine you like you searced like Michael Jackson
and
podcast.
It's just that picture that pops up.
We're talking about like, yeah, dude, like I love Traveler shoes. Like I just used to get so much gold from that. Yeah, it'd be so funny.
Oh my god.
Okay, I will say this though. If you're planning on asking Aurora what he's gonna play in the SPL, you got a long road ahead of you. That is not gonna happen.
Yeah, I do want to see Ares though. I love Ares so much.
He's a cool character.
He's like one thing that people I want to hear your opinion on this. Like, do you have like a favorite character in Smite or no?
Baron, yeah.
Baron, okay.
Since he came out,
For me, I've never had a favorite character. Like it's always changing. Like Hell's been my favorite like god type though are the stance like switchers like Ardio, Uller, Tyr, Arthur. Yeah. I think all the stance switching gods are
so fun.
Really, really cool.
Yeah.
But like I've had like different characters that I've really enjoyed like over the years, but never like one that But like, there's like a couple like Ares, Artio, Geb, Hell.
Yeah.
Like those are like some of the ones that come to mind. Like, if you ask me, but I wouldn't say one of them is like my favorite.
I think like my all-time favorite is Baron, but yeah, it definitely depends on the meta. Like sometimes, yeah, like sometimes I'll just go on random like kicks with characters. Like a couple years ago, I played like only Hell in Duel for like every game, or like I played only Osiris in Duel or something like that. And just like it just I like. Some people think I'm like insane for it. I love playing the same character over and over and
Old
over again.
Arachne
It's
was
fun.
sick.
I never even got to play with Old Arachne.
Old Kali.
Didn't get to play with that either.
Old Kali right here. Right here.
It's a throwback, yeah.
I love Old Kali. Probably my favorite character. My first.
What was different about her?
She had her 2 was a cone like Vamana's 2 is the exact same thing. It's just more damage. Her 1 was a movement speed steroid, and then at one point they put
Was it still a jump or
no, it was just movement speed.
Oh, you just got movement speed. Okay.
It gave you power and movement speed. So if you won, then 2, you do more damage. And then at one point they put a bleed on it as well. So if you won and then hit people, it'd be a bleed. And then her 3 was like a blood siphon where it would just it was a circle around her, and when she pressed it, it would heal. She would hit whatever she hit would heal her. So she had a lot of healing, and then her ult was just like.
She kind of sounds like a laner. Like she's not even like an assassin at that point. I feel like.
Yeah, I played her. I just ran around and took all the jungle buffs and would one shot people. She was like the first character I got a pentakill on. I think I got like.
Was her ult the same?
No, her ult was she just spun around and she was CC immune and just did like it was like a blade storm. Oh, basically, yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah,
it was really OP early game, and then it was useless late game. You use it for CC immunity and then you cancel it. But
that's insane to think about. I honestly I've heard like stories of like old Guan Yu and stuff. I've never even heard Arachne or not Arachne, Kali's old kit.
Yeah, no, Kali's old kit was sick. In speaking of Guan Yu, we could do a whole episode on this. The day Guan Yu came out, I played him like I think like 12 games. I died one time. The day he came out, he was so broken. Yeah.
What would it take for Geb to be viable? Give him 2 charges, shield, something.
That'd be cool. That'd be scary though. I feel like the problem with like you have to think about the game, but I guess they could do. They have the non-conquest thing now, right?
Yeah.
With the balancing, because I feel like if you gave Geb 2 shields in arena, he'd be like
broken.
Annoying to play against. But I could see it being pretty good in conquest.
Yeah.
But then the problem is if you buff his other, it's always hard to give like someone like an additional something without changing something else in their kit, because then they might become like too insane. But I could see that being a good change for him.
Yeah, it would suck if they ever did that with a character. Like they just hypothetically, they just gave a character like a ton of like prot share and like damage increase and like cooldown reduction in their kit, and like she was able to like give that to another person as well. You know, like that'd be crazy.
Dude, that'd actually be.
That might be like one of the most broken like changes ever. Yeah. Maybe do an episode about that.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Most broken characters ever. Yeah.
Is there any episode ideas you guys would like us to cover, or just anything that you'd like us to talk about in the future?
Yeah, that'd be cool too.
Half the shield health and give them 2 instead. Huh. Maybe. Make it so the shield gets CDR only if it's a cleanses CD. Ooh, that'd be cool actually.
This was like a random rant I had, and this would probably make him really broken. You know how like Hell and Chiron cleanses just an area, like you can cleanse multiple teammates. I had said like just make Geb shield like that, and like make it missable so it's like a a skill shot. But make it like that, and it gives everyone the shield and the cleanse. That would be crazy. He'd probably be broken. Like, you just 5-man stack going into a siege.
You just get shield, you pop
600 health on everybody.
And you just shield.
That'd be so broken, but yeah.
That'd be sick.
VOD review Worlds victories. I think talking about different metas is really cool. Like, kind of what you said about Season 6. I think talking about...
A fun episode for Worlds, we could talk about like what the regular season was like for both the years for us, how everything happened that year, the year we won. Like that'd be cool to like compare and contrast. We could do something like that
for sure
instead of doing like a VOD.
I think for both of us, because for both of us, we did not start well those years. Yeah.
And like Mike's done, like if you haven't watched Mike's stream, you should. Like I think you reviewed all the worlds like last year, I think it was, right?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah, Mike does stuff like that all the time.
We were so bad. Oh, it's crazy. Maybe we still are bad and get better every year.
You should do a workshop your own. That'd be no. I actually thought of that idea. That'd be fun.
Wait, you want to do that now to close? Maybe that can be our closing thing. Like workshop your own support god. Are you doing okay? Are you taking? There's like the put kits together like a different ability from different gods, or do you like have actual like idea?
No, we should do a whole episode where we both come in with like it could be like an episode. We can maybe like involve chat with it, where like
that'd be fun.
Like we come in with the god and we explain like what it does, like as a support, and they could decide which one's better or whoever wins. Like that'd be a fun episode to do. That'd be cool.
Tank time.
Some party stories. What was Valencia like? Yeah. No, that'd be like that, like a LAN.
Dude, I never got to go to Valencia. I'm so salty about it still.
I didn't get to go either.
Wait, didn't you guys qualify?
No, that was like right after Eager.
Oh, that was the Eager thing. Yeah. Oh, you went to
I went to Sweden.
Yeah.
Sweden was really, really cool.
Yeah, I didn't get to go to that either. No, come on, Tyler. We got to do that. Are you a Thebes enjoyer? Like, I'm personally like I'm a big prophetic cloak stan. Like I just have more fun. I like hitting people.
I like both, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm a both. I like if I could get both, I would love that. But like it's hard to sometimes.
Yeah. I think it's like I because I think people said like only Thebes. I don't know if that's like the podcast name. I can't. On principle, I can't do it.
Yeah.
Inting for stacks. I do that daily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sino gets mad at me every day for that.
No way. You're making him tankier. He doesn't know that?
Yeah, I guess I never put it that way. Sino hates. He's like, don't even think about it. He tells me, don't even think about it. And I'm like, okay. And then I do it anyway still.
Yeah. I used to, I remember one of the things I used to do to get my teammates to save a mid-wave for me was I'd be like, it's fine. Like if you don't want to show at level 12, like you don't need to get it. Like I'll be fine either way. Like I don't need the Phantom shell for your Ymir wall. Like I'm a Fafnir. I don't care.
You know what's funny? Speaking of guests too, like in the future, like Hurry plays support now, and I played with him in season 1 as a mid laner, and I always like hold my wave, and he'd always get mad at me, and I'm like, I need my farm too,
right?
And he was like the first mid laner I played with like in SPL, so it'd be really funny to have him on now, as he's like a support, and he's probably telling his man like, hey, can I get that? And he's like, and he's lived both sides, so he's like, oh, he knows this guy really doesn't want to give this to me, but he's like, I want it.
Dude, I used to do little tricks like you know, like your teammate will come from base and you'll like circle around the wave to like hold it for them.
Yeah.
You know, like some people
take like a minion or
two? some people well that or like some people will try to deny you. They'll like hit you while you're doing that.
Yeah.
So sometimes when I know it's like really bad to hold the wave, I'll just purposely do it and then die to the enemy team in like a scrim. Like if it's like a last game of the day and I'm just joking around, like I'll purposely just int while doing it. And they'll be like, wait, like, why'd you die there? I'm like, oh, I'm holding my wave for you. And they're like, oh, just clear. I'm like, okay, in the future, I'll just clear your wave. I won't hold it. I won't hold it for you. So I got all the little tactics.
That's funny.
To get my farm.
Oh God.
Yeah.
But yeah, is there anything else you want to talk about, like in conclusion of this whole show? I enjoyed it. I really liked it a lot.
Yeah, same. I think hopefully you guys enjoyed it too. We were a little bit more all over the place with this one, just because we kind of wanted to do like kind of half like getting ready for the new year of the SPL and kind of talking about recent stuff and also talking about new things. But yeah, we definitely have a lot of things that we're really excited for. We'll keep you guys updated on that end. So yeah, hopefully it was fun for you guys. The VODs, again, if you want to listen to it, it'll be available on Inside the SPL on Spotify, or it'll be available on the SMITEPro YouTube account.
Yeah, and check it out because it's something we definitely want to do, and we appreciate your guys' support a lot.
Yeah. Who says bye?
Bye.
Do you say bye? Do I say bye? Do we both say bye?
I don't know. I've never done this before.
Okay, what if our closing is every time we just stare at the camera silently?
Okay.
No, I'll be the bye guy. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Oh my God.